Thank you for tuning in to Connect More, featuring the shared experiences, new adventures, and nightmares of four pals who have known each other for decades. Connect More utilizes the swear jar concept to raise funds for the American Cancer Society. When you hear this during the episode, the offender will contribute to the swear jar. We'll update the swear jar each week at the end of the program. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hey, yo, welcome to another episode of Connect More. I'm Eric. There's John.
Guten Tag.
That's Brian.
Present.
And that's Jason.
Hello.
On this episode of Connect More, Jason and Wayne talk. John and I throw our coach's challenge flag, and then you'll find the whip around at Breaker 19er. But first, guys, we've published like 25 episodes of Connect More now, which is a big feat for us. That's really incredible. But connectors, as you can imagine, we have a little bit of housekeeping to take care of as we start to build these episodes. So we got a couple updates we want to share with you. And John, you got our first Connect More update.
We had a listener come through with a really fun contribution to the swear jar at Christmas time. And so I'm going to call her Cedar Falls and keep her anonymous, but someone we didn't have any awareness was listening to the podcast or found it, came through and wanted to put $100 into the swear jar for the American Cancer Society and make that a holiday contribution. We just thought that was the coolest thing ever. Thank you, Cedar Falls.
Let's call that fucking awesome.
Whoa.
Way fucking rad.
Yeah.
Way awesome.
Crank that swear jar up.
Do we want to take a minute here to let our listeners know why do we choose the American Cancer Society as our charity?
We talked about this concept when we first started the show. Actually, it started with when we were talking about the show. Are we going to swear on the show or not? And we decided to just keep it regular conversation, which means sometimes we swear, and we thought we should then make fun of that somehow. And then I can't even remember how we thought we should just do a swear jar, but then when you do a swear jar, it usually goes to something, right? And I think we batted around a couple of things, but I think it came down to, John, I think you mentioned the American Cancer Society, and when you stop and looked at the majority of us, we've all been touched with cancer in a certain way in our families. No, none more than John, obviously.
Well, yeah, no question. And what they're referring to is that my son went through being diagnosed with leukemia when he was 2, went through 3.5 years of chemotherapy, and ultimately had a successful outcome there, and is now 29, and is it's a great. Lots of contributors to that I could list, but American Cancer Society does a great job both on funding, access to the early screening and then research into better outcomes and some direct patient work. And as Paco said, I don't think there's any of our families that have not been touched by cancer significantly. And we wanted to acknowledge that we also happen to live in a state with really high cancer rates. And so when you look at all the health numbers, you find that between cancer and heart, those are kind of the big ones that we have to work on. And it was one that we felt we shared. And so it's also just a really great way to say, that we are trying to do our best despite having flaws. And one of those is that we swear constantly, but like the authenticity of doing a show like this requires that we just be who we are. And then we have to figure out what we can do for the greater good with the results, if that makes any sense.
It's not as much swearing as sitting in like a campaign strategy meeting. So it's not, we're not R-rated yet.
It's not quite that bad, right? No, I don't know that anything is that bad.
It's not the military either, I can attest.
Right.
Okay.
Fucking A-right.
All right. Well, thanks, John, and thanks to our listener partnership. And we look forward to, I imagine that when we hit the anniversary of our show, then we'll write a big check, whatever's in the swear jar, and we'll reset and adjust accordingly. But folks, there's more ways you can connect with us too. Jax, you want to tell them about that?
Well, I think that's one of the cool outcomes is, like John said, we heard from this listener we didn't even know was out there. We've always kind of suspected that most of our listeners are friends and family. shout out to the friends and family out there who listen in regularly. But we do obviously have some folks who are finding us in other ways, which is great. And up until now, when it is mostly friends and family, we've gotten a lot of feedback from them. Like they'll send us a text, or we'll see them in the workplace and they'll tell us, oh, what they liked about the pod or what they didn't like, or you guys should have mentioned this song on your soundtrack list, or why didn't you talk about this movie? Or even the feedback that I like is when people say things like, yeah, I just like listening to you guys. It's like hanging out with my friends. And that's really helpful for us. It helps us set the tone. But we want to give a chance for all of our Connect More listeners to tune in. So what we're asking is if you have any suggestions, comments, feedback, ideas for that you'd like to hear us talk about, topics, please use the voice recorder on your phone, ask us a question or give us a suggestion, and then email it to us. You can send it to us at connectsmorepod@gmail.com. That's spelled CNXMOREPOD@gmail.com. And we'll put the email address in the notes for the show as well, so you can check for it there. But please record a quick question, a quick comment, and just send it to us in an email. And if we read your comment on air on the pod, you'll get a very limited edition Connect More mug. And we will post photos of the mug on our Facebook page so that you can see it there.
So limited, right? We want folks to know this is a limited series here. So, all 8 of our listeners, better get in here quick.
That's right.
The Facebook page is Connect More Podcast, and you could message us on the Facebook page as well. We often post content there that isn't part of the podcast or extends out from the podcast. We've had some great little competitions and observations, things we find out there that relate to stuff we've talked about that we don't get to here, we don't have time to here, and it actually can be pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it just really helps. I know we don't want to be those guys that are always like, hey, like and subscribe to the pod. Like, we don't want to be those guys, but it really does help. If you do hit the like button, if you subscribe to the podcast, whether you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube or whatever, please do hit that like button. It doesn't really cost you a dime, and it really helps us reach more people and serve more people and do a better job on the pod. So just participate and give us some feedback. We'd love to hear from you.
Jason, would you say it would help us all connect more?
Perhaps it would. Way to bring it home, brother.
Well, great show updates, guys. Thanks. And now on with the show. This is it.
We used to have to be kind and rewind and memorize channel numbers like they're sacred knowledge. Now we press play from the couch and let nostalgia and HD wash over us. Welcome to Peep Show, where we celebrate the movies, shows, and screen gems lighting up your living rooms. Well, with some recent controversies surrounding Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert, it got us thinking about the important role of late night television that has played in shaping our sensibilities and our lives. But what does the future hold, and how much has the genre changed? Why was it so much better when we were younger? So, Jackson, what's your first option? What's your first, thoughts about this?
Well, I think it's interesting when we see all the controversy, Jimmy Kimmel getting taken off the air and Stephen Colbert getting canceled, that clearly late night television still has some relevance, but I don't know if it's the same as when we were kids or when we were in high school watching late night television. I feel like anymore, a lot of people watch late night television in clips on YouTube, clips on Instagram, clips on Facebook. I don't think people, in my life anyway, I don't think people stay up until 10:30 at night and flip on Jimmy Kimmel or flip on Colbert and watch it start to finish at 10:30 at night anymore. That just doesn't seem like a thing to me. So to see how it has changed in the way it's consumed, but still maintained its relevance, and some of the irreverence that I think was the hallmark of late night television when we were kids, was how irreverent it was, and they could get away with stuff at 10:30 or 11:30 that they couldn't get away with earlier.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
and I think part of it comes from there was always that hint of like staying up late was something special, right? Like who didn't love going over to grandma and grandpa's house and they let you stay up late and watch Johnny Carson at 10:30? Like that was a real, like that was an adventure when we were kids. That was fun and felt a little naughty or whatever. So I think there was always that feel for late night television when we were kids, but it's really but it's still relevant now, but in a really different way.
Yeah, I would agree. I always thought like Letterman was just so rogue. That's the only term I could think of. He was just rogue. He didn't care. He didn't care what management thought of him. He didn't care what anybody thought about him. And
Especially when he was on at 11:30. Like
oh
when he had
yeah,
the late
yeah.
night with David
Yeah.
Letterman.
oh
Yeah.
yeah. And so when he went to 10:30, he almost had to become more. He had to tone it down a bit to go to CBS and go to 10:30. But that 11:30 show, oh my God, you'd have Chris Elliott on all the time. Being the man near the stairs, or acting like he's Marlon Brando, doing the bananas dance. Oh yeah,
Classic.
classic.
Well, and what was cool about that 11:30 show with Dave too was that he was in New York, right? He wasn't in LA. He wasn't on the circuit where everybody's plugging their movie and their TV show and their books. They weren't doing that as much in New York. So he had to get all these weird guests on all the time. Like
Yep.
people who weren't like the Tom Cruises, like the big name stars and things. So Andy Kaufman and Brother Theodore, remember him? I mean, and that was the height of subversive television when you had someone on there who probably had some brain health issues. Let's face it, folks. And he was on a nationally shown TV show, and Dave was just letting it rip and just
Yep.
letting it all flow out right in front of him. I
Or
mean, like you said, Wayne, the subversion of it
Yeah.
was just unbelievable. And then Conan took it to a different level too when he was at 10:30.
oh yeah,
He's got
And no-
masturbating bears and he's got pimp bots and all this stuff. It's like,
coked up werewolf.
oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah, Conan really knew what he was doing. And he really, and he captured that audience in a way that even Dave, I think, struggled with sometimes.
Yep. And I think it's too. I know personally, I think it's too safe now. It's too PC and too safe now. That's my thought. Just when I watch it, I'm bored now when I watch it.
Well, it's certainly what the case with Fallon. I mean, he does his little games and all that stuff, but all those games and all that kind of stuff that he does, that's all made to be clipped out and put onto social media. It has nothing to do with late night television whatsoever. It's got everything to do with viral social media.
Yep. Agreed.
And even, but you remember when Leno took over from Carson, and then Dave was still on the late night show. How boring Leno's show was.
Oh,
Brutal. I mean, it was a joke how boring Leno's show was. Just the pablum, like the questions he would ask his guests and stuff. It's like, what is this garbage? It was terrible.
I don't know about you guys, but I really miss watching Stupid Human Tricks and Stupid Pet Tricks. I really do.
So that's where I was going to go, Brian, is so much of what Letterman did early on was participatory. You were coming out
Yes.
of punk rock and new
Yes.
wave, which had this essential element of audience participation. And that's what he was trying to kind of connect with. So you could see yourself doing Stupid Human Tricks, Stupid Pet Tricks. And I will tell you, and just, my one story is that, we went up to the 7th floor of Hatch Hall at the University of Missouri, and we dropped canned goods out onto the sidewalk to see which one would splash
Yep.
bigger. And
Yeah.
that was a
Yep.
direct influence from Letterman, and we may have endangered life and limb there. I don't know, but we were that was both revolutionary, rebellious, and experimental, and we loved it. We could not get enough of it. I think about Stupid Human Tricks at least once a week.
But you were only doing that too, John, because you thought it was going to be fun and you and your friends wanted to do it. You didn't do it so that you could tape it and then put it on YouTube.
It was
you know what I mean?
was
Like,
participatory, not
Yes.
performative. And you
That's
are
right.
calling out
That's
something
right.
that's super important. Is we fell into performative once we all could
Yep.
upload to social media, really in the last 15 years or so. And I think we're missing something, which has to do with like feeling like you're part of a group.
Well, and the other brilliance of Dave, and it hits on that participatory part, is like we knew the guy that owned the deli around the corner from his studio, Rupert G.
Yeah.
We knew
Gene.
the guys who owned the pizza joint, Mujabar and Sirajul.
Yes.
We knew his cue card guy. We knew Biff Henderson, the stage manager. We knew Hal Gurney. We knew that all these guys were part of the whole ecosystem of
Larry
late
Bud
night.
Melman, baby.
Oh my God, it was brilliant the way we knew all, and we felt like part of the team when we knew who those guys were. It was so fun.
You were in on something that nobody else was in on, and yet
Yes.
it was a show that was available for free over the air, and that was the conceit of it. And so for me, the pinnacle of that on Letterman was like Super Dave. When he would come on, he was a character. We knew he was a character. Letterman knew he was a character, and yet we're still doing the character, right? And that was the height of that participatory piece. I don't even know if I'm making sense right now, but that's how it felt.
No, I agree.
You know, that's a huge love fest for that show, and it deserves all of those flowers for sure. But I guess the question is now, why can't anybody do anything like that? Is it just so watered down now? One of those things, like you said, everyone's doing it. Now everyone's dropping marbles and bowling balls from the, 10th floor.
Is that what Mr. Beast does?
No,
Asking for a friend?
No, Mr. Beast does a really dark, stupid human tricks, which is about putting us in competition with one another for money.
Oh.
And it's, you can take it as a commentary on capitalism if you want, but it's the spirit of it doesn't have as much joy behind it.
No, but Weenus, you're right though. I mean, there's YouTube channels devoted to people throwing stuff off of like big dams or off of big towers, and they onto
Yeah.
trampolines and all this stuff. It's so common now that
Yep.
it's not. It doesn't have that same like wow factor.
Yep.
It's just everything is out there, and
Yeah.
I think to your point, Eric, like the subversion comes other places now. Like we're not looking to late night TV for subversion unless it's political commentary, and that's why Stephen Colbert and Kimmel got have been in such hot water, because that political commentary clearly still comes from late night, but all the other stuff, I don't think anybody cares anymore. The little skits and games and stuff, you get it other
No,
places.
I mean, we're as far from, the TV we're talking about to the present is as far as like the radio theater of the 40s was to the time we were growing up. And that was not what radio was being used for when we were growing up, right? So it does
good
all
comparison.
evolve.
Yep.
And we are at kind of the end of, we're played out on the late night TV. And I guess I'm okay with that too. But we did get a cultural moment, and we would like to be able to explain what that cultural moment was and kind of keep that alive in whatever form.
And that's why I thought like what you're describing, John, too, makes me think of the show Hacks. And in that last season of Hacks, Gene Smart's character went into that thinking, I'm going to do a regular late night show. I'm just going to do the same old thing. And it was a huge bust. So
Yes.
she had to like change the whole way that she did it. And it wasn't like she wasn't pandering to the kids, but she just did it in a way that was so different. And I think that's the moment we're in. That's why I thought that show, the way they handled, because when she was getting in, she really wanted to get on late night TV. She really wanted to be a late night host. I was like, why? Like, why is that? I mean, it just seems like an outdated thing to like that to be the pinnacle of your career, to be a late night host. But the way she turned it around was brilliant.
Because that was her generational aspiration, just like
That's
what
right.
we would want to do, right? We would rather be doing a Letterman-like show instead of a podcast.
Well, here's where my cynicism really comes in, and you guys can totally edit this out if you want to. But I watched a clip of Letterman interviewing Levon Helm on the first show on NBC in about 83 or so. He had just done Coal Miner's Daughter, and Letterman is asking him what's similar between music and making a movie. And he starts talking about he's got this fellow friend from Arkansas named Tommy Lee Jones who gotten him into movies, and like nobody knows who that is, And they go on to have like a 15-minute thing about the what's similar between a movie set and making music. And I was like, oh my God, I will never find anything like this on TV again. And I agree with you. It's probably flowed into podcasts, but I miss that. I miss where the actual exchange has some substance to it that goes 2-3 levels down, as opposed to I'm promoting something, you're promoting something. Let's do the promotion and then get out.
Well, and I think it's that participatory element too, John, because one of the reasons why those kinds of moments resonated was because it was a shared experience. Everybody was watching Letterman. Everybody was watching Carson. Everybody was watching it at the same time. Now it's all
Yeah.
chopped up and it's all over the place, and there's not that shared experience anymore.
We're
It's
back to the
all
monoculture thing. Yeah. And by the way, that's also true of like the news and the government,
Totally.
which is kind of freaking us out.
It is. It is.
You know what one of our brushes with greatness is? You and I, people, is Doug Patterson was on Stupid Human Tricks once.
He
Oh,
was.
Yes.
What
was
did he
on-
do?
He did this weird, it was a 2-person trick. They took like a small like cupcake, put a bunch of candles on it. Then one guy lay down at a table, put the cupcakes on his belly, and then they took a pitcher from a bar and put it over the top of it, snuffed it out, but that creates a suction so that that pitcher sticks to your belly, and then you stand up and you got this pitcher sticking out of your belly.
I tell you what, I performed a stupid human trick with Doug Patterson also back on Ruben's patio back in the day, but that's for another show.
So, Venus, find a clip of that stupid human trick, and we'll put it on our
There you go.
Facebook page.
Right on the Facebook
Yeah.
page, Connect More Podcast.
I'll see what I can do.
All right. Well, I think I'm ready to shift gears into something a little more sporting.
Sure, we've never coached a professional team or even stretched in the last decade, but we've yelled at a lot of TVs. In Just a Bit Outside, we take a swing at the world of sports, from wild predictions to questionable calls, and remind ourselves why we'll always love the game, even if our knees don't. So, Paco, the 2025 NFL season was a wild one with hirings, firings, retirements, surprises, injuries, and plenty of stupidity. What were the best storylines or moments from this season? I would say, as a Kansas City Chiefs fan, the end of the Kansas City run, obviously an important sports story this year. But even bigger is the move to Kansas. The Kansas City Chiefs are abandoning the third oldest stadium in the NFL, Arrowhead Stadium, built on the Missouri side, and they are moving to the Kansas side.
What do you mean Kansas City isn't in Kansas?
Well, they're still in Kansas City. They moved from Kansas City to Kansas City.
Yeah, okay.
And they changed states in doing so. But you know, the world changes, and it's a fascinating story because it brings in like the migration patterns and where younger people live within a metro and who's willing to offer the incentives and how those are structured, and really just the size and scope of the stadium. This stadium they're building will get them the Final Four and a Super Bowl and really massive events that you would not get at Arrowhead Stadium because it's limited in terms of seasons. And so that sort of, for me, dwarfed everything else. Won't happen until 2030. Still a few more seasons at Arrowhead. But it was that we had a lot of rumors that it was coming. We were hearing it for months. There was a vote in Jackson County, Missouri last year that I think kind of sealed the fate from the perspective of the ownership. But was still surprised a little bit to see this happen, and undecided on what it means for me. Right? Would I go down there and really feel like I was a part of this new fandom that's going to get going, or do I just leave it alone with all the memories I have from Arrowhead? What was your big NFL story?
Well, I just want to kind of go along with you on this one because coincidentally, my favorite team, the Chicago Bears, are also having a location issue right now, right? I mean, they had this whole plan to move to Arlington Heights. Then they had a butt heads with the state of Illinois, and now they're threatening to build across the state lines in Indiana somewhere. Which, by the way, when they said they were threatening across state lines, I called all my friends in Clinton County and said, clear a way for the new Chicago Bears Soldier Field in Clinton County, because Clinton is basically a Chicago suburb now, right? I mean, we're just a couple hours out, and you're like in Chicago suburbs before you blink an eye when you head east. But yeah, so both of our favorite teams are looking at this move, and again, you're right, it's big for look. Soldier Field is definitely outdated. Nobody. It's a kind of a shame to me growing up in the Midwest with NFC North football, right? That it was always played in the elements. Well, not, then Lions built a dome. Minnesota has a great new stadium that's inside, but you do get the more opportunities for things. Because I can't remember the name of the field in Minnesota,
It's US
Jason.
Bank, and it's
US
tremendous.
Bank, but
Yeah.
they just hosted a WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I mean, these absolutely huge things, like you said, the Final Four or a bowl game or something. And Chicago wants to build like one of these. It's basically a community, like what they did in LA. It's a whole big, almost town of itself, and I think that's what Chicago's looking for. So those are always very interesting discussions. But on the field, I think going back to the NFC North, which a lot of us here in this pod watch that, is just the standings of the NFC North being turned on its head in a year, where the Junkie Bears last year, now took the league, and the Lions, who we thought were going to be unstoppable this year, finished in a tie for last, but technically are last because they lost to the Vikings. I think that those were big deals. I kind of, it's been interesting to watch Sam Darnold get chased out of Minnesota and lead the Seahawks to be this juggernaut. I mean, who saw that coming, right?
As a Minnesota fan, I have been chagrined, to say the least, to see his success with the Seahawks, but I will say that I am not one of those Minnesota fans that is pining for Sam Darnold or wishing they had kept him, because I do still have faith that J.J. McCarthy is the future of the Vikings. Sam Darnold was not going to be the future of that franchise.
Wait a
Okay?
minute. Brian just laughed at McCarthy being the future of the Vikings.
I saw it.
I don't listen to him laugh. I don't listen to anything he has to say about the Vikings. Okay,
Wait,
because Weenus, who's your favorite team?
Forever playing the Vikings.
Yeah. Okay. Enough. That's enough. I don't need to listen to him or take his laughing. We're done with that.
You're the only person on earth who thinks McCarthy is the future. You are the only one. You're the last remaining person on this planet who thinks that. His mother probably gave up on him, okay?
Well, we got the Vikings cat fight going, so our
We'll
work is
see.
done here.
We'll see.
She's probably a Packer fan for all we know.
Listen, you
dang.
So
bite your tongue.
I also love the way that analytics is influencing the game in a positive way. I was very skeptical about the analytics BS, but you're seeing more fourth downs even on your own side of the field, those super long field goals. And then of course, going for two, it's just the card says we go for two in this situation and everybody does it. I actually think it's a much more entertaining game than it was 10 years ago around that piece.
Less predictable for sure.
It was like 10 years ago when they were talking about, I think the first time I heard them talk about like analytics for going for two was like a Cowboys game. Like they had the first like card that said, if then, if it's this, then you go for two, if it's that. So that's been coming around for a long time, but it certainly is now becoming standard, right? They all play that game, and I'm with you. And by the way, I think this going for it on fourth down thing, I don't know why it's taken so long. A lot of the time, I think it actually makes a lot of sense. And then I think it's made the games kind of more fun to watch, right?
No question. No question. Because you really can't, it makes it, as Jason just said, it's less predictable. But the point of that is like, it's less predictable what your own offense is going to do. And so you really can't be like, well, this drive's going to take 3 or 4 minutes and we need 3 points or whatever. You have no idea what's going to happen.
Well, for those of us who've been fans for a long time, it's nice to see that the conventional wisdom is not so conventional anymore. All these things like, in this situation, you always do this. That's just not the case anymore, which is fun.
No, love that too. Love that too. I can't let this segment go without talking about the end of Aaron Rodgers, ? Makes it to the playoffs with the Steelers. They get crushed by a Texans defense. Now, I can't say that game was really his fault. I thought he played a solid game there in the playoffs. But, and by the way, as we do this, we are in the playoff process. We don't know how it all resolves. But if we're done with this guy, that's a celebratory day in a year. And then, of course, if he wants to go back to the Jets or some other terrible team, I suppose we'll enjoy that too.
But will he let the last play of his career be a pick six that only happened because he blew the tackle? He couldn't even push the guy out of bounds on that last pick six. That's the last pass he ever throws in the NFL. Will his ego allow him to do that?
That's a shame. Look, connectors, our hardcore fans who have been listening to us since the very first episode will know there is no love loss for Aaron Rodgers in this room. So, but again, today, as the playoffs have started, there was still a headline that said Steelers open to reuniting with Rodgers, and I'm like, what the fuck? You don't have a coach right now. Why would you want to do that to a new coach that wants, the Steelers have had Tomlin forever. You want to recreate maybe something new, even though I thought he did a good job, but you want to create something new, but then you want to shackle him to that piece of junk, And by the way, I know he's a great player. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's still a piece of junk to me. And a lot of that is my Packers bias. So save your cards and letters on that one.
No voice notes on that?
Okay, bring them. You're not going to sway me. You will never sway me that I can't stand that guy.
No, but sticking with him at 43 years old tells you there's not enough good quarterbacks coming up. And that's just not true. It's not true with the new crop of quarterbacks that is now 9 years younger than Patrick Mahomes, which is really hard to think about. And then this group coming out of the college playoff this year, you could name 5 or 6 where you'd be like, I could see building an NFL team around them. So the idea that Aaron Rodgers is one of the 32 best quarterbacks walking the earth is just not something that anybody can buy.
No way in hell. No way in hell he's in top 32 as you go into next year's draft. And, the quarterback bust is always the big thing in the NFL when you watch NFL. And that's kind of one of those contemporary thinking things too, right? Because if you look back on it, those quarterback busts are, I think, becoming less, actually. Look at this playoff season. Look at how many young quarterbacks are in this playoff season right now.
Yeah, I'll argue to you this way. When there is a bust, it's the team letting down the quarterback by either not organizing the right protection or getting them into the offensive scheme well enough, early enough, right? They just leave them out there to suffer. And the distinctions would be Jalen Daniels' season in 2024 versus the way Cam Ward played with Tennessee. Tennessee could have done better than they are now. And they're looking at Matt Nagy from the Chiefs, and that would be a great offensive scheme to try and get going with a guy with that much talent. But you got to put something around him. You can't.
Well, look at Daniel Jones in Indianapolis, right? Mm-hmm. Same deal.
He just walked in there, right?
Yeah.
He was ready. Well, look, that was a quick trip around the NFL. You might even say it was a whip around.
No doubt someone's wondering where we are by now. So before we get called back to reality, let's stick and move with some quick takes, fast laughs, and then we're out. It's time for a good old-fashioned whip around.
Whip around!
Woo-hoo. Whip around.
Break 19. What would be your CB handle?
Do we need to
do we need to tell them what a CB
here?
is?
Yeah,
okay.
Google it, kids.
Yeah, just Google it, kids. It's okay.
No, what's the CB?
It's a citizens band radio, commonly found in semi-trucks. But some people have them at home, too.
And made very popular in pop culture in the 70s, right? Yep. With trucker movies, Smokey and the Bandit. C.W. McCall did the Convoy song, which was, which was...
DJ and the Bear.
Which, by the way, then, especially in Convoy, he lays out a bunch of... What we're talking about, kids, is a CB handle is like a nickname you call yourself when you're using the CB. And so that's what we're going to share with each other today.
All right. So first one, Jackson, what's your CB handle?
So my CB handle would be the Silver Snarker. My hair is silver.
Love it.
And I'm a little snarky about lots of shit. So I'm
just
a
a little
Snarker.
Just a little.
Just a little. Breaker 19, Silver Snarker here, looking for the Smokies. Just wanted to... What's your 20?
Smokies. Google it, kids.
That's right.
That's the Popo, kids. All right, John, what's your CB handle?
So I had a CB handle. Keep in mind, we were 7 or 8 when this was all happening. But my dad had the big whip antenna, speaking of whip around, and would do the CB stuff, especially on the road. We did a lot of long road trips to places like Colorado, and they would talk all the way. And so, but I was the freckle-faced kid, which is ridiculously wholesome. And that was what I went by. And it had a Western connotation to it. But for the handle today, I would borrow my nickname from the very first campaign I worked on. And that was, so it was a congressional campaign in 1996. And this is a legit nickname. And Jason, you know people who would know for sure I'm telling the truth. And it was Wolverine on speed.
Well, I actually did some detailed research for this and actually called a trucker, also known as my father-in-law.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And so he's also known as the Desert Rat, by the way. That's his handle.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And so I said, what would be my handle? And he goes, boy, that'd be a tough one with you. But he goes, tell you what, you should just be LT Dan. I was like, I gave him a couple ideas. I said, what do you think? Like Lieutenant Dan? He goes, no, you can't be Lieutenant. That's 3 syllables. You can't do that. So you got to make it shorter.
Yeah.
So just do LT Dan. I'm like, okay, so LT Dan would be me.
I like it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love it.
All right, 10-4. What's yours, Jocko?
This actually, I came up with it pretty quick once I knew this was on the script, and I love how quickly it came to me. So, as a former politician in the state of Iowa, I think my CB handle should be hog breath.
Oh yeah, baby.
Yes.
I'm kind of surprised nobody did the CB name generator and use that maybe. But anybody do that?
No, look, I seriously thought I would go to something like that or Chat GPT, but I just kind of hog breath, came right at the top real quick.
That's a good one.
All right,
That's a goodie.
We all put the hammer down on that one.
I just got to do
that.
I just got to do the C.W. McCall thing, though. I got to geek out on this for a second. You guys, again, you can cut this if you want to, but he is from Audubon, Iowa, and he was recording in Omaha, and it was for an Omaha radio station. He had come up with a bread company ad, a 30-second ad for their bread, and he was honing this character, and then sort of wrote that when the CB craze came in, he wrote the CB song using that character. But that guy's co-worker co-founded Mannheim Steamroller. So you had these two guys late night in the radio station borrowing the resources. One of them is creating Mannheim Steamroller. The other one's creating Convoy. That's just fantastic. Never give up on your dreams.
Anyway.
10-4, Rubber Duck. Roger that. We're whipped. The swear jar amount to benefit American Cancer Society is up to $189.
Yeah.
Closing
Fucking
credits, please.
Thank you for listening to Connect More. I'm the producer. Please subscribe and like this podcast because it's my only chance of getting paid for this gig. Connect More is a product of Pantiger LLC and is hosted by Brian Danielson, Eric Van Lanker, Jason Nisus, and John Hedgecoff. Connect More is edited by me and Jocko. The showrunners are Jax, Hedge, and Weenus. Theme music written and recorded by Ryan Veeder. Cover art designed by Leon Golden. Musical director is Evil. Legal liaison is Brian. Lead writers are John and Eric. Runner-up writers are Jason and Captain Danielson. Publication coordinator is Jax. Special thanks to GVC, Aaron, Miss Roper, and Yoko. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure to follow Connect More on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.